All right, breaking news, breaking news. Two tourists, looks like African American tourists, were scoped and robbed in Cartagena. Um, I'm currently on the at Noticias Instagram. It looks like they give just certain updates on events that's happening inside of Colombia. Um, but I will just run you through the video to just get to the point. And I'll translate this for for those of you guys that can't speak Spanish. I will read it for you, then I will show you the video. On Sunday, November 3rd, around 9:37 p.m., two American tourists invited four women, two guys, four women, into an apartment building in Marbella neighborhood in Cartagena. According to the report, the women were reportedly contacted through a dating app. So we've seen this happen a million times, guys. There's nothing new here. You guys already know how the story goes. Security cameras captured the moment that the tourist and the woman entered the elevator. In the images, one of them jumps inside the elevator, apparently to distract them, while the men appear relaxed and smiling. Hours later, the tourist reported not remembering what had happened and suspected that the woman had drugged them with escopolamine to rob them. When checking their belongings, they noticed that they were missing several valuables, such as high-end cell phones, computers, iPads, and jewelry. Nearly 2 hours after entering, the women were captured, leaving the building, one of them carrying a backpack that allegedly belonged to the victims, apparently loaded with stolen items. So now let's go through the video. So as we can see here, they're in the elevator, kind of just chilling, waiting to go up. Pretty, normal vibes, at least, they think it's going to be normal vibes. Let's get to it. Let's get through the next vibe real quick. Four girls, backpacks. So they came in roughly 2 hours. They only spent about 2 hours in the building before they, left. Easy lick. Easy lick. Now we see them leaving the building. Just, moving a little bit rushed, but not really crazily rushed. There's no real extreme worry, right? And this is what I basically have to say about stuff like this. Number one, being drugged and robbed can happen to anybody. It really doesn't matter how much tact or how much knowledge you have. I've seen people that have ultimate knowledge still get drugged and robbed, and that's just what that is. However, and these cases are starting to increase, but for the amount of records of this stuff happening, I see it's always a consistent manner, right? It's always the consistency of meeting these girls off these dating apps. And I cannot tell you that I have spoken against the dating apps, because when you use them right, the dating apps are actually a a cheat code, but you have to understand that you are at risk of not being secure, being as secure as you could be when it comes to being drugged and robbed. Now, Cartagena does not have the amount of reportings as Medellin does. That does not mean that Cartagena, that these robberies are not taking place. They are 100% still taking place, right? We got 4 girls here, okay? 4 girls. For us to have 4 girls means something, right? That means that you guys traveling out there are not doing your research and the due diligence that you're supposed to do before you go to countries like this, because anybody who has traveled a little bit would have told you that this is an absolute no-go. There's 2 of you, there's 2 girls. At any point in time, a girl can get up, snatch something off the table, even if you did end up having a good time, which we don't actually know if that happened or not. But I mean, if you ask me, I really couldn't tell you. The first thing isn't coming to mind that they ended up having a good time or not, right? And even if the intention wasn't to have a good time, because I also know that content people go down there too. Sometimes you just want content, right? Having 4 girls, because you probably didn't match with 4 girls. You probably matched with 1 girl, right? You matched with 1 girl and she said, hey, I have 3 friends. That's probably what happened in this scenario. And anybody with any kind of real common sense would have told you that this is an absolute no-go. Don't do this. This is bad vibes. It's a complete setup. But a lot of guys go down there with this bravado like, hey, man, I don't need to watch no video. Nobody need to tell me how to move. I'm tact. I know how to move. A lot of you guys don't know how to move, because the truth of the matter is, a lot of us, and I'm going to put myself included, but I had to unlearn it. A lot of us go down to these places with this American mentality. Let me bring them back to my nice Airbnb, right? Let me flex on them and show them, let me come down with jewelry, because they lost jewelry, phones, they lost a bunch of stuff. They lost a ton of things, and it's because you're trying to show off to these poor people, and all they see you as is a lick. It's like, okay, whatever money he might give me, I could 10x that if I just rob this nigga, right? All I need is a little bit of scopolamine, and I can just rob this nigga. That's all I gotta do, right? Because especially, and I'm gonna speak more for the, like the black men that get robbed, right? Too often am I in Cartagena or Colombia, and I see guys with mad jewelry, chains out, and it's like, yo, you guys don't watch any content to prepare for coming down here. Luckily, these guys are alive. They didn't pass away. You know what I mean? Like, some people, a lot of people, once they get scoped, they don't survive those encounters. You know what I mean? So consider yourself lucky and start taking, some real precaution when you guys go down to these places. Is number 1, stop looking for threesome situations. I'm not going to say they can't happen, but stop looking for threesome situations. That's really what gets a lot of dudes caught up, is chasing these threesomes, and then they end up getting drugged. If there's 2 of me and there's 2 of me and there's 4 girls, that can't happen. It's got to be 1 girl per guy. And if it's going to be a situation where there's more girls than guys, we're definitely not coming back to my place where I'm storing my items. This is why I advocate for getting 2 different apartments, or getting 1 apartment you sleep at and you don't invite anybody to. You know what I'm saying? Or you really, really vet this person. Like, you know this person, you go through the whole, like, security measures of checking bags and everything else, right? But sometimes you guys are concerned about killing the vibe. Screw killing the vibe. What about you losing your life, or losing some of your most personal items and now somebody else has the access to, right? So get yourself a place to stay at where you're going to keep your stuff and no one's going to be in there. And then get yourself another spot, or one of those little love motels or casas where you could go to and go do your vibe without being worried. Because now if they come through to those places, even if their intention was to rob you, right? you'll probably go another day without getting robbed, and then you could really, start scouting these women. But a lot of us go down there trying to fulfill these kinds of fantasies, and you know what I mean. Like, any one of these shits can rob you. A chick that is giving it up and she's working the streets can decide that you can be the one that she robs, right? And then to my next point, a really important point to try to just keep in mind, as well as, if I haven't said it already, the government is not necessarily penalizing these women for these druggings and these robbings, right? Like, when it becomes news, the police are forced to do something, but most of the time they're not going to do much. And it's like, you don't know. At this point, I would say some of them are working together to rob the foreigners, because the foreigners are such an easy lick, where they're, now we're going to these countries. I'm not saying you can't do well in these countries, but you really have to move tact. And when you're dealing with these kinds of women, you have to understand, like, these women are at the bottom of the barrel when it comes to their moral character. So you really are playing Russian roulette with your life, with your belongings, a bunch of things. And, a young lady who had killed the Asian guy last year, she didn't spend more than a year in jail. She killed somebody, and she didn't spend more than a year in jail. So I would really encourage you guys, to just stop taking women back to the places that you're resting your head at, unless you really are on some militant procedure, checking purses, checking bags, taking IDs, all types of stuff, taking phones. But the biggest thing is, you don't bring girls that know each other, especially not this many, because they're not sitting there thinking to themselves, hey, let's give this guy a good time. They're really thinking about, how can I rob this clown of everything that he has, and how can we coordinate how we're going to do it? And the whole time they're coordinating it. All is, hey, I have a friend, I have amigas. That is a huge no. That always has to be a huge no. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not something that I think people should do. Stop doing it. You know what I mean? Stop linking up with friends, because that's gonna get you robbed, and that's gonna possibly get you killed. And then secondly, just look at, like, the temperament of these comments. I'll read some of these comments. You know what I'm saying? Like, one of them is like, aha, and what did they expect if that's what they came to look for here? And then obviously you see the likes here inside of here. This is their this is the temperament of the regular local people that live in Colombia, even though they engage in the same activity as the foreigners. Don't get it twisted. They're there trying to get some box and paying for box as well. When you get robbed, it's like, oh, you're coming to our country trying to get some. I'm happy that you got robbed. Oh, you know what I'm saying? Now you'll learn your lesson. Don't come back. There's a xenophobic kind of attitude towards foreigners here, which you have to imagine is widespread. If somebody can kill somebody and they're out of jail this year, they don't care. They do not care. You know what I'm saying? It's good. They come to get their bad time. They like the pot. This is a horrible translation, but just another person there. People laughing. Who sent it? Security rule. One guy actually came here and gave some good advice. He said, take the girls to the motel, whether tourist or native, which clearly shows that native people also partake. You lose less if you don't take them home. Exactly. So they're serious. Ha ha ha. That's the daily bread. Those tourists don't learn. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It really is daily news of what happens with tourists down there, because tourists get so blinded by pussy, like the desperation for pussy is so insane. And I've seen it where even guys that are in these places for long periods of time cannot undo the desperation, even if they've already been through all the whores. they still will lose common sense. And I think that's I think that's just vindictive of just human nature. You know what I mean? He said they come to get putas and the cheap parakeet. What were you waiting for? Let's continue with the leathers. Gringos like to look for these women. I can't really even be mad at some of these comments, because the comments are pretty much on point. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, stay safe. I make a bunch of videos on this stuff. I try to put some stuff in Patreon. If you're not in the Discord, join the Discord. We have these conversations all the time, trying to tell people what to do and what not to do. But the biggest thing that I'm gonna say with this stuff is, we have to move militant when we're in these places. This is just not a smart idea. It just is not. Like, they're tact. They're not gonna try to fight two big black dudes. They're just gonna drug you guys when you guys get really comfortable and rob you of everything. They are much smarter than you. They know they're not gonna get inside a lot of trouble. They didn't wear masks. They didn't bother to cover up. Even if one of you guys would have died, like, they know that they're probably gonna get off. When they compare how much money that they're gonna end up getting off of selling your stuff. So you guys have to keep this stuff in mind. Like, when I say move militant, I'm talking about, it doesn't matter if you mess up the entire vibe. If you got to do a pat down search like you're a damn cop before you bring one of these girls over, do it. Now, some of you might say, if you got to do all that, why even go there? Because some of you niggas is going to go here regardless, and I'm niggas. I'm just being real with you. Some of us is going to go here regardless, but my security rules are very thorough. You know what I mean? And sometimes I get lax, and that's this shit like that keeps me on my toes. Like you cannot get laxed, right? You still got to take phones and put them away. You still got to, like, purses and phones should not even be in reach. They should not even be, if they're coming over for a good time, they shouldn't even have access to their clothes. Give them a big t-shirt or give them a hoodie. You know what I'm saying? Like, take their stuff, because that's usually where they're storing these drugs and the things that they're going to use to rob you. They don't serve you drinks. You know what I'm saying? If they're going to be a guest in your place, you serve the drinks. They don't touch your drinks. They don't encourage you to drink. They don't do any of that stuff. Absolutely not. That's just not something that happens. And you have that conversation before they even come over. And if they lose interest, screw them. Move on to the next. There's too many women for us to be falling desperate to try to get one, because you have to understand that they understand the value of their pussy, and they'll just use that shit to take your life and take your items for nothing. And now you're gonna become a viral sensation on the internet. At this point, I don't even think people going viral, because foreigners get robbed there so much. You know what I mean? So just be safe, be careful, y'all. It's your boy. Like I said before, hop in the Discord. Hit me up if you want a consultation. I do these really secure consultations. I break down everything from where to go, where not to go, where to eat, where to stay, scripts as to where to stay, scripts as to how to talk to women. I do all this stuff. So if you want a consultation, or you just want a simple guide, I do have a link for a $5 guide right now. You guys can check it out. It's your boy. I'm out. Peace.